Welcome everyone to episode 6 of The Draft. This week we will be discussing everything about the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Last week we had I was calling him Barf Boy, and I apologize, Tino. That's no way to treat you, but Tino was out sick. We had Greg fill in for him, and this was the result. So Tino gets on the board. He has 2 wins. I have 2 wins. Phil has 0. We'll talk more about that in a little bit here. But yeah, Tino gets the win with help from Greg Mathern from Win the Race. Uh, man, I'm glad to have you back. Glad to see you're up and running here. Phil, glad to have you too. But let's talk to Tino real quick. Make sure he's healthy enough to do the show tonight. I know boots on the ground out in Las Vegas, so that's exciting. So Tino, how you doing? You back? Feeling good?
I'm back feeling better than ever to be with you boys here tonight. And like you mentioned, Viva Las Vegas. You can see the sun shining here behind me. I'm absolutely locked in. Appreciative of Greg last week. Very grateful to him for stepping up in for me for short notice. Barf Boy to the extreme. Took me a few days to get over that one. And it'll be the last show I hopefully miss all throughout this season. But to do have a missed show and still come home with the win, I'm feeling better than ever, hoping to start a streak here similar to Christopher Bell here throughout the year.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to have you back. Something's going around New York, man. It's like you're even 4 or 5 hours away from me, but my dad's got something bad. He's had the barfs for a week and a half now, so something bad's happening. Phil, how are you feeling? I know you were fine, but how are you feeling this week? How you doing? I I don't ever mean to rub it in with the 0 win thing. You said, "Oh man, this might be like the ongoing joke thing of the pod." That's not what it's all about. There are no wrong answers here. We all take risks, but man, are you feeling good about getting on the board this week?
So I am starting to feel like that is going to be the running joke, and I know that for a fact I'm on vacation in a couple weeks, so I'm going to have a pinch hitter for me. I would like to have a win before, so then I don't have to hear that my pinch hitter hit a home run like Tino's, and that's an illegitimate win. So I'm really hoping this week is the week. But dude, yeah, Briscoe let me down last week. He was a big difference maker for me, and it really hurt. So losing by 5, that one stings. And so, but this week I got my picks written down and ready to go. And for the wild card, we'll spice it up a little bit. We'll kind of leave it up to fate. So I'm hoping Vegas. I'm coming out of there as a winner.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun week. I mean, we'll get into a couple things here in a second. I think what really, I know what hurt me was best of the rest taking Cole Custer last week. That was just, ugh. I don't even know why. But Greg
Well,
comes
you
through
did it because
taking
there
the
was ice
Barry
cream on the
Hamlin at
car.
the end. What?
You did it because there was ice cream on the car, I feel like.
Yeah,
Custard.
if there was any reason why, that is probably why. Forget anything I said last week. It was the ice cream that did it. So I won't fall for that again. I promise. Trying to eat a little healthier. Um, but yeah, we donated to the United Cerebral Palsy Fund. That was Greg picked that. Tino in Tino's honor here. So we donated there. Let's just jump right into Las Vegas. I mean, I think that I'm excited that we're kind of past these gimmicky type races. We had 2 drafting tracks, we had a new layout at Coda, and then we had the option tire last week. So I guess I'll ask you both. I just want your opinions. Um, are you excited to see the next 5 races here? We got Las Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol. No gimmicks, no option tires, no anything, no new layouts. This is just now we're just going back racing. So Phil, I'll start with you. Are you excited to finally like hit this schedule hard here? I mean, I think this is where our bread and butter is.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be fun to watch, you know, outside of like the gambling element, being excited about trying to hit some of the tracks that you might be good at. It's going to be fun to watch some of these drivers that are down in the points. Looking at like a Kozlowski, I'm looking like a Gibbs, who we might be talking about. Those types of guys who are struggling, these are the tracks they should be able to course correct. And if they can't, panic button. By the time they get to Dega, if those guys aren't kind of correcting, then that's a big deal to me. Also, another thing that I'm watching for is the 8 car. They've survived. They've done well. They've, I think, talked a big game about doing a lot of work in the off season to try to prepare. I thought they looked fine last week, but now here we go. You know what I mean? And this is where they could fall apart and look basically like they did last year. And then it's eye roll city, it's the same thing all over again. So that's a team that I'm really focused on because I want to be able to bet Kyle Busch with more confidence. So it's kind of where my mind is.
The hometown track.
That.
I mean, that's the thing. It's make or break, I think, for him. We might be talking about him a little later. Possible spoiler alert there. But Tino, I want to ask you too, but I'm going to have you lead right into the next topic here. So are you excited about this part of the schedule? Again, it's Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol. But with that in mind, so, tell me what you think about that. But also, who do you think is outside the top 16 in points right now that will be firmly implanted inside the top 16 when these 5 weeks are over?
Ooh, firmly implanted. So first off, I am definitely excited for the stretch. I think many reasons to be because of the tracks, because of the great racing product we've seen thus far. But primarily, I want to see who is good, who is fast, which drivers can really, aside from the ones that are outside looking their way in, which I'll get to, which drivers can put up a fight against Christopher Bell? Because right now it doesn't look like much, if any. And obviously there have to be some out there that can do so. I think these first 10 races, once we're past that threshold as well, we can really see which drivers will consistently be good throughout the season, right? Really narrowing down the championship favorites, if you want to call them that. Just which drivers we can continue to expect to be good throughout the rest of the year. But and to answer your question about one driver who's not in to be in, I wouldn't say firmly just yet, because I feel like firmly you need a win to really boost yourself up into that top 16, at least right now for this driver, and that'd be Chase Briscoe. Sits 20th in the standings right now. This is a pivotal stretch for him, I think, because if they do not capitalize on finishing well at all, or at least just getting some strong finishes and just staying clean, him being in 20th right now in the standings will stay that way. And I think that'll be a major thing for them. They already got their points back, couldn't capitalize at Phoenix there because they were back there, get up in a wreck. That's unfortunate. And another driver we wanted to mention was Bubba Wallace. He's already inside the top 16. He's 12th right now. But the way they've started their season has been great from a strategy perspective. We haven't had fast enough cars to win the race, so go and get stage points. If he continues with that mentality, or at least has an opportunity to be in the mix for a race win, I'd like to see how high he can go in the standings. He's 12th right now. After these stretch of races, I'd like to see him firmly in the top 8. That could be a really strong run for him in that 23 team.
Awesome. Yeah, that's some great stuff. I love how you threw in Bubba in there too. I mean, I didn't even I looked at the standings but didn't think about it that hard when I saw him up there. But yeah, great points. Enters a decent stretch for him here. Phil, what do you think? Anyone outside the top 16 you think can just, be comfortably in there after this 5 race stretch?
Yeah, I think it's another obvious choice, but maybe not when you're looking at the numbers, but Brad Keselowski in the 6 car. He's about 30 points back from the cut line, if I'm doing math correctly. And
it's still tight because we've only had the 4 races, but when you look just at the standings, him and Ty Gibbs they look like they're buried, but
they're
it's still
way down.
so early.
Yeah, they're still so early. And there's guys tons of guys ahead of them that, water is going to find its level here with the next 5 weeks. Some of these guys like a John Hunter Nemechek, a Todd Gilliland, not to throw any shade their way, but Brad Keselowski should be consistently better than them on a regular track in NASCAR. That's just how it is. So Brad's been a little unlucky. I think, the victim of these wonky tracks. So this is where, we really need to see him start to step up. And I don't even think Vegas is really a perfect spot to see him like win a race or finish top 5. But what we need to see from Brad is flirting with top 10s, top 15s, these next 5 these next 5 races rather. And that will give you confidence. If he finishes in the top 15, like 3-4 of these next races, I think he'll be firmly in the playoff hunt there.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. He just needs to find that consistency. It's I've seen a couple different things like NASCAR Insights has the new X account, and they said through 4 races, more cars have exited a race since the 1950s. So I think we're in a little bit of a weird stretch here. I mean, Phoenix especially, like, there's so many cautions and wrecks in that race, and some really fast cars. Like Noah Gragson for one, like on the yellows, he was just buzzing through the field. Dude was fast. Like I hated to see him leave the race. I wanted to see what he could do. And hopefully we have that chance this week. I think we'll see a lot cleaner race this week. I think you guys would probably agree with that. But yeah, let's just get into it. So the draft is going to be, we'll all draft one driver from the teams you see on the left. There's 8 teams. Then we'll draft one driver from best of the rest, which is any driver from a team that's not on the left side there. And then one wild card, which can be from any team, any driver you haven't selected yet. We'll go NASCAR official points for the scoring, and the winner will get to choose a charity that win the race will donate to. Same rules every single week. Probably next week, then I guess after this race, I'll do our season-long draft too, and I'll put that up here for everyone to see, just see how we're doing there. But yeah, for this, guys, this is going to be pretty chalky, and I know it is, but I know we're going to have our own certain twists on it to just have a 1v1, 2v2 there, here and there. We start with 23-11 though. I don't know if there's going to be a twist here, but I'm going to let Tino lead it off.
Real
Fresh,
quick,
not
Ryan.
sick anymore.
Real
Yeah.
quick, do you want the
Oh,
Phoenix
I'm
or the Las Vegas breakdown? Real
I am
quick.
jumping. I am jumping the gun. I do. We even have it listed on the left there. So we did the intro and recap. How about we go in order and we do the race preview for Las Vegas? The
Yeah.
Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Phil, take it away. I'm going to shut my mouth.
Well, typically I would just let it roll and we go into it, but I do have a funny stat that I think is fun to share. So yeah, like you said, Pennzoil 400. This is a 1.5 mile track, getting into that intermediate type of track. 267 laps, stage breaks at 80, 85, and 102. We've got a practice session on Saturday. It's one session, 25 minutes. So they have to be pretty quick, a little bit different than last week where they had a 45-minute practice. So not as much for us as gamblers to be able to kind of look at. Qualifying at 3:30 is going to be important. They've been to this racetrack 34 times. They're coming here twice a year now, and the winner has only started on the pole one time. The winner has started inside the top 10 5 straight times, 61% of the time they've been here, and it's very rare for it to see a winner outside the top 20. Now, I wanted to throw something your way because while the pole winner has not really had much success here one time in 34 races, there is a starting position that I don't know if I've ever seen it like this, but the outside pole sitter, the guy starting second, has won this race 20% of the time, 7 times. That is insane. And it happened 3 times in a row in the next gen car. So is that like just an auto bet here? Second place driver in qualifying would just throw a outright on? I don't know. But interesting one there. And then the manufacturer trends, Chevy kind of has owned this place a little bit, 6 of the last 10, 4 of the 6 next gen, and Toyota has not won in the next gen era at Las Vegas yet. So
I noticed some of that when doing like DFS prep for my article that comes out on the weekends and stuff like that. And it's the 2023 first race, 23 second race, 24 first race, so 3 in a row there. But it was William Byron, Kyle Larson started second, finished first. They led 176, 133, 181 laps. So yeah, if an HMS driver named Kyle Larson or William Byron started on second here, then I'd almost lock them in.
Yeah.
Unless, I think the people who can break that trend would be a Kyle Larson or William Byron starting on the pole, or the guy who just wins every single race in the world right now, Christopher Bell. So all right, we'll be talking about all those guys, but that's a great thing to bring up because I saw the same thing doing the DFS prep, and I do apologize again for not just reading down the script here and going from the intro to the race preview. So my bad.
All good.
All right, so now that everyone knows the rules of the draft, we might as well get right into it. I'm going to start with Tino. Tino, I think this might be pretty obvious for all three of us, but like every week, we still got to talk about it a little bit. So, who's your pick for 23-11 here, Las Vegas?
Well, since I feel like, and as you've alluded to, it could be a little obvious, I'll go out and say it. I want to get to some comments as well, so I'll read those off. So you guys could probably provide some insight for the same driver I'll be picking here, which is Tyler Reddick. Although I do have to tip my cap to Bubba Wallace. If Tyler Reddick wasn't his teammate, I'd be picking him. But it's just the fact that Reddick is just better than him. Was in position to win this race potentially last year had it not been for the pit road a little slower than Kyle Larson. That just ultimately is what ended up, I think, just causing him not to win this race. So because of that and how strong he's been, the second Vegas race last year, I feel like he didn't really have a lot to show for it because of something that happened there for him. He didn't have the finish that resulted in what he deserved throughout his running position during the race. But got to be Tyler Reddick. I wanted to go Bubba, a little bit different, but I'm locked and loaded here. I'm staying true to the best of the best in this one because I need to win to get my get back. But with that being said, highlighting everyone who's in the chat, I appreciate you guys, seeing you guys. Keep the comments coming. Go Fast Troy saying Alex Bowman. Team 54 saying that. Brian also saying, great to see Tino survive this sickness. Appreciate it, Brian. Let me know if you'll be. I feel like you might have mentioned you'll be here in Vegas, so that'd be cool if we could link up, Brian. But I'm back, better than ever. Go Fast Troy also saying Tony's energy is unmatched. I don't know who Tony is. Tino. Autocorrect. Okay, good. That's me. Robert in the chat saying 19 is going to bring it. And David, too, he's been going off saying hot take Tino keeps getting ripped off or tipped off on who to pick. Tino leads Operation Screw Phil. Well,
Whoa.
I don't think I'll ever lead any operation that's called that. Phil's the boy, though, and we're going to keep moving on. Go Fresh Troy. And then Team 54 also saying qualifying will be another terrible all the way through format, which surprised me the last time. I honestly wasn't aware that they were doing anything like that the last time they had qualified. So, hey, good to know. Appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. And, let's keep going here, boys.
Yeah, it's tough. You'll notice for like qualifying betting now, the guys going off late are all like 2-1, 3-1, stuff like that. So, I think last week, might have been one of our last weeks to kind of capitalize on the numbers. And when the race, whoever tailed me, we hit it again, another qualifying bet, which kind of saved me for the weekend. That and Xfinity, because I didn't have a great cup race, but still left the weekend up 2.13 units. So we survived and move on. But yeah, qualifying betting is going to be very tough because the numbers are going to be very slim moving forward with this format. Tino, I think it's good that you picked Reddick here because you don't want to come back off of sickness and poop your pants on the first pick. So I'm glad you didn't switch and go to Bubba there. I think Reddick's definitely the obvious answer here. I'll take Tyler Reddick here. Phil, who do you got here for 23-11?
Yeah, I can't, in my position with 0 wins, I can't be getting too cute choosing Bubba Wallace here to start off. He second in speed rating both Vegas races last year, and in the full mile and a half set, the 6 races in 2024, he was first or second 50% of the time last year. So he is fast in this style of track. He's been fast in Vegas, not necessarily getting the finishes that he might deserve, but I can't, because of that raw speed that we're seeing out of this driver and this team, I can't get cute and try to switch things up and play things differently. Bubba, I would expect to have a decent race, but I can't take the risk.
If you even expand it too and just go beyond like the 1.5s, just every race they ran in this intermediate package, even though they're all set up differently, whatever. But in those 17 races, he had the 4th best true average running position and the 4th best average finish. So dude's fast, running up front, finishes there. This was pretty much a no-brainer here, in my opinion, and yours as well. So, Phil, I'm going to let you lead it off here for front row. I thought this one was a little more difficult. I'm curious to see who you got here, but who do you got for front row here, Las Vegas?
I've got Noah Gregson, and I'm kind of hoping you guys are different here. But Gregson, I actually found him in a head-to-head matchup against Priest that I really like. But
I
Gregson,
took that immediately.
oh, you saw that head-to-head?
I took that at, I think it opened at minus 115 or so. It got, as soon
It's
as I took
down
it, I
to
went to minus
minus,
130.
yeah, minus 130. I still took it
Yeah.
at minus 130. I think this is, and when the race Sims have that at fair at that price.
Yep.
But he's just sneaky good. And when we're talking about his teammates, I don't need him to win the race. I need him to just finish like top 20, top 15. Like, I'm not asking him to light the world on fire here. And that's kind of what he's done. In average finish, he hasn't had the full stretch in the next gen car. I think he's only got 4 races here. But he's with a 30th place finish, mind you. He's still 13th compared to everyone in NASCAR on average finish. He's got an 11th, he's got a 6th, an 18th to show for it here. And his speed rating is anywhere from 16 to 20. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And last year on the mile and a halfs, 5 of the 6 races he finished top 20. Good enough for me. Like that's very consistent. That's what I'm looking for. I'm into the Noah Gregson this week because 6th last year, going to a track where he showed a little bit of something, and I think it kind of tricked a lot of us for the rest of the year. But let's go back and hope he hits it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you here. I know you wanted me to be different, but Gregson is who I had all day here. And just for the same thing, like it's funny, you mentioned the exact head to head that I saw immediately. As soon as I saw that, I went, looked at all the numbers, dove a little deeper into it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be in on Gregson here. So it's unfortunate the line, moves immediately when you bet on NASCAR nowadays, but that's just the way it works. So yeah, I have Gregson too. I don't really have much to add from what you said. I mean, you kind of you hit it right on the head there. So Tino, who are you taking for front row here for Vegas?
Make it 3 in a row with the boy NG at his home track. But I think this part about the draft is getting me excited, right? Because now we've seen us do 3 in a row across the board. And with Phil, especially, trying to get on the board and trying to get a win, this makes it, I feel like, even funner in this instance because there may only be few drivers that are different that we have on the board. And it may really depend on a certain couple guys to finish higher than
Yeah,
the others that we sort of, spotlight in this one or highlight. So that to me is getting me a little bit excited. To add on to that, the 6th place last year is what I really remembered when doing prep about Gregson. And I think aside from that, he's already, I feel like, racing better, or at least showcasing a better running position at this point in the year. This year, you throw that on a track that he's already somewhat good at, I think that'll help. And I also got to highlight Big Ross in the chat saying minus 130 is still playable. Don't hate Gregson top 4 either. That was when we were talking about his head-to-head. And yeah, go some love for Gregson in the chat as well. Love it.
yeah. A lot of the top Fords have been hit or miss here. I'm sure we got some Ford teams coming up beyond front row in the next few teams here, so I'm sure we'll talk about quite a few of them. I don't mind that shout out at all. I know it, and you said it's going to be exciting. I believe it will be exciting, but I'm not sure that right now with Team Hendricks is where it's going to get exciting because this HMS driver named Kyle Larson is one that I'm going to take here. And I would have to say, if you guys aren't taking Kyle Larson here, you're a little bit of crazy, which I would love. I'd love to hear the explanation why. But I mean, Larson has 4 top 2 finishes in the Gen 7 races here that he's in the 5 that he's finished, and that includes the 2 wins. Um, I just think in look how the season has gone so close to getting a win. I just think he's ready. I mean, this is it. This is the one that's on the schedule. This and what next week? Did I say Homestead's next? Whoops, don't mean to scroll that up. Yeah, Homestead's next. I mean, there's he could go back to back here. So, screw you, Bell. You can win back to back to back. I'm gonna go back to back, and then I'll see you in Martinsville, see what happens. But give me Kyle Larson here. Phil, who you got for HMS?
I'm not gonna play with fire. Kyle Larson all day, and I won't even have to say too much more. I mean, it is what it is. And last year, even on the mile and a half, he had 2 victories. Out, just on top of his success at Vegas. So obviously one of them coming in the spring race, but he snagged another one later in the year. Kyle Larson, it's kind of checkers or wreckers for him. He's got a 35th place finish, but I'm sure I didn't go back and look at the research, but I'm sure he was running up front at some point in that race and a contender. So, mark me in.
Tino, he's shocking the world.
No, not today. Make it 3 in a row for 3 times 3-peat, Tino 3, all across the board, Kyle Larson. And Brian in the chat's also saying that this may be Larson's favorite track on the schedule. This is exactly what I'm talking about, too, when we were talking in the beginning about figuring out what these next few races are going to be like for the drivers and for the field. What does Larson have for Christopher Bell? Is he going to fight back? And to be fair, he was up there. He got beat at Atlanta. He was up there, and he got beat at Phoenix, but he was up there. So now it's time. You give us more races, more of a sample size. Can it be Christopher Bell versus Kyle Larson the whole season? I would honestly love that if they just kept on trading wins. And another thing, too, to note, they are both racing in the dirt race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in his Kyle Larson's High Limit Sprint Car Series. So that's going to be absolute cinema. I will be there. I will be producing content from that. So, guys, stay tuned to my accounts.
Is that the one?
That is going to be awesome. Yeah.
Is that the one I saw Ty Gibbs is running into?
Yep. Ty Gibbs will be running it, and I think that helps. We saw what happens when Christopher Bell runs dirt. He goes out and becomes the best driver in the world. Ty Gibbs will benefit from this too, 100%.
Nice. Yeah, I had on Kyle Larson, I always forget, we know what we're talking about. For anyone listening that doesn't know about Kyle Larson, last year, I mentioned the 17 races just in this intermediate package. They're all set up different depending on where they go, but it's the same package. He had 4 wins in those 17 races, which is twice as many as anyone else. The next guy had 2. But he also, this is the part that really separates him. He led a quarter of the laps in those. Well, he only raced 16 races because of the, Indy thing. But he led a quarter of his laps in those 16 races. The next guy only led 12 or 13. So he's just gapping the field by a large amount. So he is the best. He's the right pick here for Vegas.
And he performed so well last week where last year, spring race Phoenix, he was not a factor. He was running 15th all day, was not sniffing the front. And if he were to go out and kind of lay an egg like that last week again at a track like that at Phoenix and then coming to Las Vegas, I'd maybe be concerned. No,
dude, all day he doesn't have the speed of those guys up front racing for the win, and somehow he makes himself a factor. That's just the Kyle Larson in him. That car, especially long run, did not have the speed to contend for a win. But you get the right restart in the right time. I mean, that dude he gave that car more percentage than it had to win just based on speed. It was the Kyle Larson factor with that car. But anyways, so all right, enough about him. Beat that bush. Now, I think it still doesn't get too exciting here because we go to a team where the guy wins every goddamn NASCAR race that we race. So I'm just going to make my pick quick here again, and I can drop some stats. I want to hear what you guys say and stuff, but I have, my own reasons as well. But I'm going to write Christopher Bell in here for my pick, and Phil or Tino, we'll go with Phil first. Phil, do you have anyone other than Christopher Bell here for your JGR pick?
I do.
Oh, do you want me to talk about Christopher Bell real quick first, then, and then we'll get into your.
Go ahead.
All right. So Chris Bell for me, I mean, not much to say here. Again, for those who haven't been watching, Chris Bell's won 3 races in a row. He wins at every single track type. He's an unreal stud. He has no weaknesses. One reason why I like him here. If you look at, so we mentioned being out in clean air. You mentioned the stat about starting second or, near the front row or just getting, where the winners come from. Well, Chris Bell in a sample size of 2023 and 2024 at tracks that I wouldn't compare these all to Las Vegas, but just to get a bigger sample size in this package of qualifying results, I'll use Vegas, Darlington, Michigan, Homestead, Nashville, Texas, Charlotte. 18 qualifying attempts for Christopher Bell. He's won the pole 39% of the time. The next best has won the pole 11% of the time, and he doesn't race anymore. So unreal. Like that's just unbelievable to think that he'd come in here and not have a fast car, not qualify well. And then also too, we mentioned the order. Well, who's qualifying at the end to go out there and just do what he has to win the pole? Christopher Bell. So yeah, give me Bell. I think he's going to qualify up front and he can run up front all day. Um, can he win the? I actually don't have him bet to win the race. I have multiple other drivers bet to win the race. There was a good number on Larson, got him. Some other guys we'll talk about later. I'll talk about it as we get to him. But man, I mean, why wouldn't he be running up front? So this is where I love it. Phil, tell me who you're going to pick here to be different than Bell.
Well, I mean, Tino, you sounded like you were kind of on Bell as well. Do you want to? Is that who you were taking?
I was on Bell. I still am on Bell, so you can put me in for Bell, and I'll say not too much else more to carry on with that. But just the fact that right now I'm undecided if I want to put him on my outright, betting card to win this race. Right now he's opened up at plus 600. I don't hate that value to start off with, especially because of the fact we can see that number go down if he continues those qualifying trends you just mentioned, right? So like to start off there, I feel like we may see that and be like, okay, I would take into account, to win his fourth race in a row. That is what makes the odds probably should be a little bit more valuable or higher in this instance. But we saw how good he was at Phoenix, right? Like that's what he's capable of doing at Vegas. So put me in for Bell. And one other thing too, before we go on to Phil, is I want to read some of the comments here because we talked about Bell, and his qualifying efforts. And one thing Robert put in the chat that was about Kyle Larson, though, but I want to talk about it because it's if this driver wins the pole, what do you guys think he goes off at? I think that's important to answer this question here. So let me know what you guys think because Larson's right now plus 400 to win this race. If he wins the pole, does he go to plus 350? I can't see anything under plus 350 for Larson. Can you?
No, I think three. I think three might be as low as it goes. I mean, he would have to really go out and just rush the field in practice, short and long run, just be faster than everybody by a good margin for him to come out less than 3-1. So, and even if he looks like he's the fastest and is already the favorite, I just think 3-1 would be as low as we see. So that's why the only reason I bet in so far, and I forget, I got to look at the number. It was either 5 or 6. He came out somewhere, might have been FanDuel, and I was limited on it. But for whatever they'd give me, I just took it because showed value in our simulations and everything, and and obviously it's him at Vegas. So if I'm good, if I don't have that and I'm going to wait, I'd rather just wait for practice and qualifying, make sure he's got it, and then I'm fine 3-1, 4-1, whatever he opens as cool.
Yeah, Greg agreeing, Big Ross as well. And want to get into a couple more before we get to Phil. The suspense is building. Everyone's wondering who he's going to go with. Brian got to say, yes, sir, I will be there. Hit me up for sure. Also talking about Hendrick, Miami Mike saying, don't forget about Byron. I don't think I have. I don't think I have forgot about Byron. Stay tuned for that. Team 54 also saying, hope Ty is competitive in a sprint car, which we were mentioning before about those drivers racing in dirt at Las Vegas. I hope that kid gets his confidence up. I really do. Then Brian also saying this race in Vegas has added importance with the round of 8 now consisting of Talladega and no Homestead. 100% agree. And I think this, we mentioned it a couple times now about these next few stretches of races, but I think this is like a key part of the season because of this as well. So shout out to Brian. Miami Mike also saying, Viva a yes, sir. So that's, Viva Las Vegas, Viva yes, sir. But all right, Phil, what do you got?
I'll tell Team 54. Well, let me tell Team 54 real quick, because Team 54 and I talk on X quite a bit. I really enjoy that account a lot. I have a bet against Ty to win. I have him less than 1.5 wins this year, and I feel pretty confident.
Why would you tell him that?
But I did bet Ty Gibbs to win this race, so he was 40-1.
40-1. 40-1.
Yeah.
A little sprinkle. Why not?
He's 40-1. It's too far. We show value with that in the 20,000 simulations that we do. I had to put just a little bit down on Ty Gibbs. So I don't know. Team 54, I hope he brings it home personally. So that'd be cool. But all right, Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll say you guys in our group chat kind of got me facing Ty Gibbs a little bit, and I went into Ty a little bit on my podcast this week for that 40-1 number. So if you want to get your positive vibes going, there you go. Big Ross is on it, going Hamlin. So let me think through or speak through my thought process here. First of all, 4 in a row would be absolutely ridiculous. Like the law of averages have to catch up to you. I looked up last time someone went 3 in a row. It was Larson in 21. He finished 9th in the subsequent race. So I was hoping to see something maybe like 30th, but no, that didn't happen. But 4 in a row is crazy. I can't see him winning this race. So if he's not winning the race, then he's kind of pulled back in. I think Denny Hamlin has a chance to win this this team for a couple reasons, right? Obviously, I'm taking a chance here. I'm trying to be a little different. I don't want to be too different in a way that's going to be absolutely nuts. And I don't think Hamlin is nuts. First of all, he finished second, a half a car length behind at Phoenix just last week. So he's starting to build up some momentum. Feels like he's ready to break through for a win in general. In this next stretch, I think Denny could see himself in victory lane these 5 racetracks. That's one thing to say. 2, looking at his Vegas numbers compared to Bell's. Bell, when we're playing this game, I want a guy who is more like even keel, more level headed. And what we're seeing with Bell is like sometimes he's fantastic as far as finishes are concerned, and sometimes he's in the 30s. So 2 finishes outside the top 30. He's got some really great finishes. He's got a 10th overall. With Hamlin, I was just watching on Tubi earlier today, the 2022 race. He finished like 34th. He was a force in that race. And the other races in this next gen era, he's even keel, man. Finished 8th both times last year. You give me an 8th place finish for Hamlin, I'm fine with that. Fine with it, because I think that really puts him in position to win this team because of how volatile Bell has been here over the years. Then we look at his speed ratings, and his speed ratings numbers have been strong. He was first in that race in 2022, by the way, where he got knocked out, but hovering around like 6th, 7th for the most part through this next gen era. And then you look at last year in the 1.5-mile tracks. I'm counting the 6 of them now. Okay. His speed rating is 3rd, tied for 3rd with Tyler Reddick. And his average finish in those 6 races is 2nd behind only William Byron, 2 spots ahead of Bell. And win the race, Ryan, has him ranked 2nd ahead of said Christopher Bell. So that's even more of a feather in the cap here for, Denny Hamlin in this choice. I think that this is a veteran who takes a little while to get going. And what we saw last week was very solid. And I see Team 54's comment there about Gale, and that's fine. I understand that. But just a veteran driver picking up momentum, going to a place where he's been consistent. Like I said, even keel. I don't want to keep, harping on it, but I just want that consistency in a pick here. So going with Hamlin, cross my fingers since I'm different. This is a make it or break it pick, I guess, for me.
Yeah, if you're trying to be different, I mean, why not be different with a stud? It's like you're not, like you said, you're not swinging for the fences. You're just taking a rock solid pick that could easily beat any of his 3 teammates. So that's good. Tino, go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with that, because if we all know Christopher Bell is going for 4 in a row, right? Well, what's going to stop him from that happening? I think we can see like that's going to be the storyline with Kyle Larson. He was about to go and get 4 in a row for the first time since 2007. Tire blows out. Like that, maybe Christopher Bell pit road miscue. Even in this race last year, he had a tire blowout as well. So I think Denny is a stronger choice to be solid, consistent, like you mentioned, all throughout the race.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that pivot right there. That's great. You knew we were going Bell, so you had to be a little different.
Yeah.
It was either that or Hendricks where you had to go different right there. So All right. I think, we could be different here. I don't think any of us are picking Austin Cindric, but, between Logano and Blaney here, we could be a little different. I'll make my case first here. I'm going to go with our champion, Joey Logano. So while the races in this package were somewhat of a drag at times for the 22 team last year, it wasn't the case in the spring Vegas race. He's actually now qualified in the pole 2 straight Vegas spring races. And that's something that we talked about earlier. It's just been so important in this car. But the difference between then and now for me is I think it's having a full year of this Ford body and kind of becoming faster, like we saw Blaney do at these tracks last year. And even Logano, he got the win at Vegas. His fuel mileage, whatever it was, but it's not like he was terrible all day. Wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. And we saw last week, like he typically only. This is why I think this is true because like he typically only shows up for the championship Phoenix races, but last week was one of the best cars all day long. So it's a different package, yes, but I think it still kind of plays into this thing of like they now have a full year of this body. I think that maybe Logano is back. So since they've been racing here twice in the spring, his finishes are seventh, first, ninth, 14th, ninth. Like he's got a bunch of great finishes here, including wins. So I don't know. If they're back, I don't want to miss it. So give me Joey Logano here. Let's start with Tino. Tino, who you got for Penske?
This was a tough one for me to sort of break it down between the two drivers of Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. I was crunching the numbers to see who had the best average finish at this track in general in the last 5 races. Blaney's a 16.4 and Logano's a 14.6. So really, and when we look at those races, right, like Joey has a first, the 9th, 12th, 36th, first, and 14th. Blaney's 32nd, 3rd, 6th, 13th, 28th. Like they kind of both very similar in terms of the variance we're seeing across the board. I'm going to go with Joey Logano in this one. And the reason is after what happened to him in Phoenix last week. I don't think he would have had a car to necessarily compete for the win against Byron or Bell last week at Phoenix, but he would be the third guy. I think he was a top 5 car for sure, and he got kind of screwed by NASCAR. Now, I actually agree with the call, right? He was 1 inch or 2 out of bounds, as you can say, below the yellow line, so I thought that was fair. No one else did that as the race went on, but that's something he was pissed off about. And I think a pissed off Joey Logano going to a track like Vegas where he's been really good at, and they've been able to really work together, him and his crew chief Paul Wolf, about any sort of strategies here. I feel like he's been able to win races here up like straight up, and then also on strategy calls with the help from the crew chief and the team, executing well in that position. So I'm going to go with Joey Logano because of those reasons.
Nice. I think one cool thing that they could have done is like, or maybe in the future, although I do not want more option tire races. But if you're going to do it, just do one set. So if you make a mistake like he did, you can gain that track position back. So you give everyone like one mulligan. That's really it. And you can choose when to use them in a race. I thought that really helped him out, getting the penalty, being able to race his way back up there and then maintain it for the race because he did have a fast car, like you said. But yeah, just something I thought about. Phil, what do you think? What do you got for Penske here?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you guys would go with Blaney. I mean, I had Logano written down unless I wanted to pivot here just because to be different. But to me, the stats say Logano. Going back to my consistency point, I mean, Blaney just hasn't had consistent finishes at this track. Going back and looking at it, he's got 2 top 10s and at a 6 next gen races here. That's not what I'm looking for. Meanwhile, Logano is 5th in average finish, with 4 races inside the top 12. So really good stuff from Logano. You guys kind of hit on it, but I also wanted to touch on, like, I was seeing this as like a 50-50 ball. And that was one thing that kind of steered me, got me looking towards Logano a little bit. But then also just the mile and a halfs last season, I didn't really, if you're looking at it, they were pretty different on those mile and a halfs. Not that that's like an end all be all, but Blaney had 2 top 10s, only 3 top 20s. Logano was 5 for 6, finishing inside the top 15. And so I didn't realize that it was going to kind of shake out that way. But if I'm looking for consistency, I kind of wish it was the other way around. I wish you guys were going Blaney. I had more of a consistent guy here, but I got to go Logano because of that.
I had thought the same thing when I wrote up Logano. I'm like, man, I think at least one of them is going to go Blaney. Like one of these guys got to go Blaney here, but no such.
Well, the whole chat's going Blaney here. That's for sure.
Wow.
And
Nice.
I appreciate them letting us know. Brian specifically he agreed with Big Ross because he's like, Joey's been meh in this package, no better than an 8th to 12th place car last fall. I agree with Team 54 as well, saying good with the weird tire situations, but since we're going back to normal, he's not going to do well. I'm surprised by the chat here. We'll see. This is the draft versus the chat. Blaney versus Logano.
The wild card is still available.
Well, I also think we go back to back here. Like we'll lead right into RFK then because, and I suck at doing this thing on the left too. Like I've skipped like 2 or 3 teams. I always skip right down to them as soon as I realize I've missed it. But I'm on RFK now. There we go. We're locked in. I think this is again, no one's thinking about Priest for this pick. So this is the same thing as Penske. Like you are flip a coin, Keselowski versus Buescher. Who do you got? Let's start in a different order here. Tino, who do you have for RFK here?
My immediate thought was Chris Buescher, but I may change it right now on the fly because of the fact that Brad Keselowski needs to get his get back. Chris Buescher in the last few races here at Las Vegas was involved in an accident in this race in the spring, which now I'm remembering again because I'm just looking up his stats right now to reassure me. Finished 37th, but he was running strong throughout the day. I remember I watched this race back, but I remember his accident. Started in the 9th position, finished 10th in this fall race last year, so our most recent race, then 11th, 21st, 15th. Brad also had a strong run. To me, I'm going to go Chris Buescher. I'm going to keep it how you put him. No, you know what? Fine. Keep me for Brad then. Keep me for Brad.
No. We can do it.
Yeah. All right, there you go. But
you totally. What are you doing? Yeah, so we'll go Chris Buescher. That's cool.
No. Well, to me, it was just that much 50-50 between those guys. My heart is saying switched it, but I don't know. Now that I'm already saying it, I feel like Brad can get me here. But I want to know what you guys think as well.
Well, who do you want me to type in here for your pick? That's all.
It was probably my worst sell out of all the ones I picked throughout the season, but I feel like that's fair because Brad Keselowski should get his get back this race, but I got to stick with Buescher because he's the guy that I had thought out. He's the guy that was on my list to draft. And I can't let any outside sources and thoughts creep into my mind here. But I think Buescher's just been that guy consistently throughout the season. They just not really be there throughout the race, right? Like top 10, top 15. But to finish strong, I can pick him over Keselowski based on. But that's the thing is like I feel like Brad has to stop the bleeding at some point. So I think it could come here, but I'm sticking with Buescher.
All right. I'll go, Phil. I'm going to go before you because I'm going to split it here, and I'm going to go Brad Keselowski. And the reasons why, again, total coin flip here. Like you said, Tino, it's tough to decide between these two guys. Each driver only has one top 10 here in the 6 Gen 7 races. What separated Brad for me was that in 2024, in those 17, intermediate package races I mentioned, he had 6 top 5 finishes, including a win, where Buescher only had 2 top 5 finishes. So it was just a, upside thing in this package. But then the kicker was what you kept mentioning. If there is a such thing as giving a team a little extra love or something when they need it, this dude owns the team and is absolutely buried right now in the points. So they need it. He needs a rebound win here. And whether that comes with some wild strategy play, if a caution comes out at the right time or whatever it is, I'd rather have Brad's upside here when it's just a coin flip. So give me Brad. Phil, you're on the clock.
Yeah, so I get to kind of be the one to tip the scale here. And I just need to reiterate how razor thin these guys are. Their average finish at Vegas is essentially identical. They are 3-3 in the next gen car head to head at Vegas. Their stats from last year's mile and a halfs are very similar if you're going from like top 10, top 15, top 20, like the whole way through. What's tipping it for me in the favor of Chris Buescher is two things. One, the chat's on it when they're talking about the qualifying situation. He's not good at qualifying at Vegas. 18 point something average starting position. And it looks like he's not getting a good starting spot, could get buried in qualifying. And mile and a half last year, while he was able to kind of rebound from like an average standpoint, his average starting position last year on mile and a half was 25 point something. That's not good for a driver who doesn't have that momentum. And you know who does? Chris Buescher. I love riding the waves of guys like this when they are able to get top 10 streaks going. He's got 3 of the 4, 2 in a row. I always talk about on my podcast a couple years back, Eric Almirola took us on like a beautiful wave of top 10s. It was like 7 in a row. Chris Buescher to me is like that like level type of guy who's kind of flying under the books radar and continuously can just put his car in position to win that bet for you. So that's why I'm going to tip the scale here, but this is razor thin. There's no getting around it. I don't want to make it seem like Buescher's way better than the other one, but he is who I'm riding with here.
Awesome. Again, I can't say anything bad about either guy. That's great. So we do have 3 different teams as it sits right now. So we're on our way. Let's move to Spire. I think this is possibly another one we could be a little different. I don't know. This one, I don't know. I feel okay about my pick. Phil, you lead it off. Spire here, Las Vegas. Go.
Justin Haley.
Wow.
Yes. So this is my reason. And Hocevar is still an enigma to me. I don't know what to make of him. He looked good, obviously, at points of this season. He still needs to prove it to me. We talked about guys needing to prove it this next 5. He is someone that I'm watching because I want to be able to bet him more consistently, but I can't trust him. So let me make for the case for Haley here because I have a head-to-head matchup, -115 on Caesars with McDowell and Haley. And so I looked at this in depth and I'm coming out with Haley here. So for starters, the equipment change for Haley. He has done serviceable here in dog shit equipment. Okay. And better than he's 4-2 head to head against Michael McDowell at his time in Vegas in the next gen car. The fastest Justin Haley was last year on mile and a half was fall race Vegas as soon as he switched over to Spire. So now they're equal equipment. He was 12th in speed rating, by the way, finished 17th, I believe. Now they're in equal equipment, and we're going to a track where Justin Haley has excelled much more than Michael McDowell. In the next gen car, McDowell's best finish is 17th. Haley has 4 finishes, 17th or better. So, and again, dog shit equipment. So you're telling me that he's
McDowell's best finish is 17th in 22 Cup races at Vegas.
So not even just the next gen, just forever.
In 22 Cup races. Yeah, that's just not Gen 7 in his life.
Yes. So then you throw in the crew chief situation. We keep talking about that, but I want to see it like start to come to fruition. This is a racetrack where I would hope to see that a little bit. So yeah, I mean, 1 top 10, 4 top 20s. This is just very good. His speed rating is anywhere from like 17th to 27th. McDowell's way worse than that. So the only thing that beats me here is if somebody takes Hocevar. The chat's talking about Hocevar. And I think Brian just said it perfectly. And the reason why I'm kind of avoiding Hocevar is like he definitely has the high ceiling. Not disagreeing with that at all. But the floor is what scares me. I can't take Hocevar and have the floor drop out and finish 36th. I really, in my heart of hearts, don't think that's going to happen to Haley. So that's why we're going him.
Nice. Well, let me tell you what the people in the draft can do when they already got 2 wins. They can go with the risky guy, Carson Hocevar. That's what I'm going to do here. we mentioned track position earlier and everything, and in his 2 stints here with Spire, he's qualified 14th and 6th. So there is the opportunity for him to start in the top half of the field. He maintained that his first time, finished 15th, and then he finished outside the top 20 in that weird, fuel saving race we had the second time around. But he did have 4 in the 17 race sample I mentioned. Again, they're not all tracks like this, but they're in this package. He had 4 top tens, which I just think is pretty cool for the Spire team that really struggles to finish top 10 on these tracks that really emphasize speed. They have looked much faster as of late. And so I do want to go with this aggressive guy that I think can do well here. So again, I can't argue against Justin Haley. Maybe I'm just mad that I picked him last week and it didn't work out. So, but I'll pick Hocevar this week. Can't pick McDowell for everything that we just talked about. Not not going to happen here. So, give me Carson Hocevar. Tino, who you got Spire for Las Vegas?
Well, I will say I actually did talk to him earlier this morning. Carson Hocevar had an interview with him over Zoom. That went really well, and he sold me on not only drafting him here today, but a potential bet for a top 10 finish in this one. Ryan, you mentioned how you're high on him for those reasons. Plus 290 right now that he opened up with on Caesars. Definitely will go down, I would say, based off his qualifying efforts. To me, I'm more confident that he qualifies inside the top 10 than finishes inside the top 10. But at that number, plus 290, Ryan, is that something you would potentially bet for a top 10 for Carson Hocevar as well this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to look it up right now, but that number is sounding pretty juicy.
Yeah.
So, where was that?
That is on Caesars. And I will also
Nice.
say, as you go and do the little insights there, my pick last week that hit was Zane Smith top 10 at plus 900. So
Wow.
I'm really loving these Spire guys. I'm happy to be back on the show to talk about it, promote it a little bit more to help everyone else get in on it as well, hopefully, if you'd like. Plus 290 for Hocevar. I think when we go to these intermediates too, I think this is where he shines. Like I think Homestead is another one I have my circled on my Hocevar schedule here because I think if they continue to bring speed in these cars, unless he does something stupid and potentially gets in the wall or wrecks out like people are saying, which I do agree with, and Big Ross also letting us know, appreciate this, that he is plus 350 at BetUS. I don't have
Bet
that personally, but anyone who
365
does,
as well. Bet
yeah,
365 as
oh,
well.
perfect. So shop around,
That would
but
be
anything
a
like
bet for me.
plus 350, yeah, 100%.
I could probably
So,
ride with
yeah.
that too. Even though I didn't take
Yeah.
them, that's a bet that I would get behind.
Yeah, for sure. 350s. That's great.
Phil, I
That's
did
a good
want to
shout out.
ask
I mean,
you. Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, we're talking about bets we'd want to get behind. With that being one of them, I did want to ask you when you're on your. We're talking about Chris Buescher. He is plus 150 right now for a top 10. And when you guys were talking about, him being that top 10 guy for you, is that a number where you'd bet on him now or just wait because of his terrible qualifying that we've seen all throughout the season?
Yeah, I'd
Anyone?
probably wait. I know I was making the case about the top tens because of our draft situation here, but his numbers at Vegas do scare me when I'm going head to head versus Brad. I could make the case for him, but I just couldn't put the case together for betting the top 10 at plus 150 when I think he would potentially not qualify well enough to justify that number.
Yeah, when they combined as a team, they got 2 top 10s in the 12 tries in the next gen car. Not great. But most, Bushers was the most recent one. So again, though, had the fuel stuff going on in that race. I don't, besides the only thing I remember about that is just how much Joey was able to extend everything. But without going and watching it back, I don't know all of the guys who ran out of fuel at the end of that race and lost their track position. So again, and that goes with Hocevar, saying finished 15th and then, comes out here qualifies 6th or whatever. It's like, was he one of the ones that died and ran out of fuel? I can't remember. I'd have to go watch it back. But all right, this I think is going to be another very chalky pick here. So I'm just going to write it in mine. And if you guys, want to be different, you can. But I'll give a little spiel here on Ross Chastain. So we'll jump to Trackhouse. In the 6 Gen 7 races, he's only finished outside the top 7 once, and that was a 12th place finish where he finished stage 2 in 7th. So he is always running up front, except for when he's getting pit road penalties. But even when he does, he just races his way back up front by the end of the race. So this dude always shows up fast here. He is like borderline where I want to bet him out right here, but I did not do that yet. What I have bet him is he was like minus 105 to beat Kyle Busch, and that I did bet. And it's not because I don't like Kyle Busch here. I don't mind Kyle Busch here at all. Ross is just really freaking good here. So, and consistently. So that was one head to head. The sim showed value on it. I loved it. So I'm on that. But guys, we'll start with Phil. Phil, who you got for Trackhouse?
Yeah, it's Ross Chastain. It's not even a question. He's a threat to win the race. The other two, maybe he can get Suarez for a top 10, maybe. He does that from time to time, but it's Ross Chastain, and it's not even close. I saw him minus 115 for a top 10 on DraftKings, and it was weird because DraftKings is so bad for top 10s, but it just seemed like he slipped through the cracks. Like other books had him at like minus 135, minus 140, but for whatever reason, DraftKings, while they are just nuking everybody else's top 10 numbers, he was like sitting there. So it's like, well, that's weird because he's got the best average finish. I mean, you rattled off his numbers there. Good stuff for Ross Chastain, and he's another one of the reasons why I like, Chevy as a manufacturer. If I had any balls, I would take any book that has the Hendrick bet for a team, but there are guys out there in the Chevy camp like Ross Chastain that scare me too much to want to go on Hendrick. So I like Chastain for sure this week.
Perfect. Tino, what you got?
You can put me for Chastain as well. Did want to note Suarez's stats here. Like, honestly, runs pretty consistent. He finished third in the most recent one, but I feel like that was because of the whole fuel mileage thing at the end, little played strategy, led set 57 laps because of that factor. But taking that away, 11th place finish, 15th, 10th, 16th. But Chastain's numbers are just better than that. But I figured, if Suarez could have a solid week, maybe top 10. I'm not looking at on him for anything betting wise, especially with him getting taken out. It seems like he's the one that gets involved in these wrecks late in the race lately. But I will also highlight Brian saying Chastain plus 130 over Joey Logano was tasty early in the week. 9-3 versus Joey at Las Vegas and Kansas in the next gen, with on being a runner-up in the fall in 2022 and a wreck. So yeah, Chastain for all those reasons as well. Good call out by Brian.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that was, like you said, Suarez isn't, dog crap here, but Chastain's got to be the pick, just given everything he's seen and how consistent it's been. It's not like you're just looking for that one ceiling race. He's just consistently solid here. So now this gets a little fun. Best of the rest. Any team that's not listed on the left here. Tino, I'm going to let you go back to back here. Who you got for your best of the rest pick?
Because I'm back. Give me Kyle Busch. This is the time. I'm betting on him to win this race outright. Maybe a little bit crazy with the number we're seeing now. I saw him open up at 20-1, seeing 18-1 now on BetMGM, just what I have pulled up on the Action Network. Don't love that price, but I do love Kyle Busch at Las Vegas. And for someone that feels as do as he does right now with these races, he's been having stronger cars, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. You bring him back to his home track with a chance to actually have a competitive ride, it feels like right now. It's got to be Kyle Busch. I still think with that value, I'm betting on him to win this race outright, and I shouldn't take it away, because anytime I have a gut feeling and I take it away, Christopher Bell wins 3 in a row. So give me Kyle Busch for all those reasons. It's not too much stats I can put behind it, because maybe, it doesn't pan out for RCR because like we've seen in the past, but if there's anyone I can trust in this race to get more out of their car, it's Kyle Busch. And he's done so in the past too. He hasn't really, I feel like, dominated this track a lot of times, but always been there at the end, and always, had a shot to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Kyle Busch it here too. And really, it was just because of kind of what's left on the board, like the best of the rest. There might have been one or two guys I was looking at with Kyle Busch here. Again, I took the matchup Ross Chastain over Kyle Busch. And even picking Kyle Busch here, I still think that can hit. Even if he has a good race, he could finish 9th, 10th, which I think would be pretty good for him, considering he only has one top 10 finish here in his 4 races with RCR. So if he can just manage a top 10 finish, great. I just got to hope Chastain beats him out. But again, look at the board. I mean, who are you going to take? I saw like AJ Allmendinger's been really good here. That if that's someone that we want to mention just as like a weird, long shot or something to finish top 10. I think the most recent we've seen Allmendinger on a track like this was Homestead, where he's top 10 3 straight times, and he qualifies like crap. He qualifies like 30th, and he finishes top 10 every single time. So, that's a 1.5, not exactly like this, but probably the closest thing we've seen Allmendinger run most recently, similar to this. And now Kaulig, he's got to be the guy. He has to be the one. They're not switching cars all the time and drivers and all this stuff. He's in the 16 full time. Give AJ something he can race. And if you look at in the Xfinity series, he was beating the JGR teams, the JRM teams, just beating them 2 different times. He won in the Xfinity series at Vegas. I would say outside of roads, this is his best track. So I don't know, man. Well, that and Homestead, but I'm gonna take Kyle Busch here. But I gotta say, like, if I was looking for a weird one, I would go for Dinger. Maybe that's more of like a DFS thing I'll keep in the back of my mind. But yeah, go ahead, Phil. Best of the rest.
Yeah, it seemed to me like you were trying to pitch AJ to me so I can stay in the basement here, but
Do it.
No, it's Kyle Busch because and you made a compelling argument for AJ, but it really does come down to not necessarily we think Kyle's going to light the world on fire, but who is he going up against? It's AJ Allmendinger, it's Austin Dillon, it's Josh Berry. Eric Jones has a couple top 10s here that are sneaky, but like, can you really think on a consistent level that Busch is going to lose to those guys? You wouldn't think so, especially with what, in my opinion, they have on the line this weekend, which is trying to prove to everyone that they are legit. And in order to prove to everyone that they are legit, they have to do something this weekend. So I think there's a lot going for them coming into this race. So Kyle Busch has to be the pick for me.
NASCAR is more fun when Kyle Busch is competitive. Just is. When he's up there battling guys and bitching on the radio and being crazy, NASCAR is more fun. So let's make Kyle Busch fast again. I hope that he is fast this week at his home track and is competitive. That'll just be fun. So wild card pick. I'm going to start it out here. So I know, Tino, you got a little 21 shot on Kyle Busch or whatever. I'm going to go with what I think is going to be a surprising one here because there's a super, super obvious pick here for wild card. But I'm going to go a little risky here. I'm going to go with a 30-1 shot of Chase Briscoe.
I like that.
I like
it too.
A little bit of reasoning here. He has actually qualified here in the spring 4th, 6th, and that's in Stuart Haas equipment. Now he joins the 19 team, who not only have they haven't finished a race here worse than 9th in the Gen 7 era. And again, he's not Truex, fine, but he's also not dog crap. And it's also a track where he just dog walked everybody in Xfinity his last 2 times here before he went to the Cup Series. So he can race here. Truex, the part of the reason he ran up front all day long was he qualified. He was top 8 in that 18 race sample I mentioned with Bell. He was top 8 in qualifying and won 2 poles. So they do qualify really well here too, this 19 team. I just think that if you give Chase Briscoe that track position that he's won before with SHR, and now he can probably do it again with JGR. The only thing going against him is he's going off late in the qualifying order. So that kind of hurts a little bit. But if it doesn't, and he can qualify up front, I think he can do it. And even if he can't, this is a track where if you are fast in your race speed, you can race your way to the front. So I don't know, man. I just am feeling I wanted to be a little different here for the wild card and not take the obvious William Byron. So give me Chase Briscoe here for my wild card pick. Phil, who you got?
Well, he was the one that bit me last week, by the way, Ryan. So you got to be careful about Chase Briscoe. And
this is the flop lag.
I would have thought he would have had something at Phoenix, and he was really a letdown.
He was the dandy. He was the hot commodity last week. So I like picking that guy the week after.
You like buying low. Buying low. Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So as we know, 0 for 4. We're in Vegas. What do we do here? Wild card. We get wild. We take a chance. All right. So I've got a dice right here. We're going to let the gods decide who my wild card is, and this is going to win me the damn race. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I've got 6 names. All right. So these are the corresponding names. I'm tough for me to see at this right now,
Read 'em
but
off.
I'll read them off to you here. Number 1 is Bell. Number 2 is Reddick. Number 3 is Byron. Number 4 is Bowman. Number 5 is Blaney, and number 6 is Elliott. These are basically like
Oh,
the
I
top
like that.
dogs left available. We're gonna roll the dice.
Nice.
We're gonna let the Vegas dice decide.
How many? Just one roll?
One roll. Whatever
All
it
right.
lands on, we go to the corresponding number. Whatever driver that is, that's who's going to win me this matchup this week.
Let's go.
So let's see who we got right now. Come on now.
Who's it gonna be?
It's fuck. 6. Chase Elliott. The gods did not help me out. He was the worst of the 4 Hendrick drivers, but maybe the Vegas gods are onto something. I needed to do something to get the boys going. And get everyone, on my roster fired up.
Good for
But
you.
yeah.
Chat's going crazy.
Yeah. Oh no is right. I was really hoping it was going to be Byron. But hey, you know what? Sometimes it's the roll of the dice that changes the season. So
Love it.
we'll have Chase Elliott in there.
All right. Awesome. Tino, what do you got up your sleeve there? You got any dice up that gold jacket?
Let me check. No, nothing in this one. Nothing over here. But what I do have is, I hate to be the safe guy, but I don't hate to be the winner. William Byron, put it down. I have no regrets doing that. I have to. The Chase Briscoe, and then Phil pulls out the die, and I was like, oh shit. Do I just go like what Brian's saying? Tell me why. Pick John Hunter Nemechek here. I thought about it, but no, I'm going to go William Byron. I think I also am betting him at this point in the week at plus 750. I feel like that's actually pretty good value for how he's performed at this track. He should have won this race in the spring, had a garbage bag, not covered his nose. I think he could have beat Kyle Larson. So, yeah, I got to go Willie B in this one.
Yeah, I thought that was just such an obvious pick here. So I haven't bet to win this race. I think he's going to qualify really well, going off at the end again, like the other guys we talked about, Bell and those guys. Yeah, Byron's an obvious pick. I think what are we? We're different. Keselowski, Briscoe versus Busher, Byron. You got those killer Bs. You got to be beat there. And then Phil's different with Haley, Elliott, and Hamlin. You can do it, Phil. You can get on the board this week.
We're going to get lucky. We're going to need to get lucky, but that's the place to do it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
It's Vegas.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I really look forward to this 5-race stretch. I think we're going to see things kind of normalize out a little bit. I don't think we're going to continue to see this trend where the most cars have exited races in the last 70 years or whatever stupid stat that is. It should be a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for the comments tonight, for listening, for playing along with us. This is a great show for a great cause every single week. What I'd like to do soon is just get a couple ideas of charities we can donate to from you guys too that are watching the show and commenting on it and everything like that. So it's not just only the winners that are going to pick it. We'll get everyone involved and something that means something to you, so we can help give back to something that means something to a listener here. So thank you guys again. Tino, where can everyone find your content?
You can find me at Tino, Pattigno, across all social media platforms. As I mentioned, I'll be at the dirt track race. Really excited for Larson versus Bell and Ty Gibbs being in that one. Hear me on Sirius XM, NASCAR radio as well. Give my best bets. Maybe doing a little pre-race show with Pete Pistone as well and all those boys there. I'm at the track with them. Sports Rap as well. I've been doing show with him. My guy Jason Page. Talked to Carson Hocevar earlier today actually, so that was really great. And I'm excited for bringing you guys content from the track. Hopefully getting some wins there as well in Vegas. If you see me, say hi, and also I'll shout out the rest of the chat. And right now, do that Robert, Big Ross, Brian, who will be at the chat. So tune into all of his content as well. Hot Pass showed up right at the end and called us a bunch of bums. So that was funny. Miami Mike in the chat. Viva Latino. Appreciate that. Team 54. Everyone who's tuning in, David. I know a lot of other guys in here I want to get to, but appreciate everyone commenting. Robert, Go Fast Troy. The comments mean a lot. It helps us continue, talk with you guys throughout the stream here. And Hot Pass also saying, Tino, I want to feel this mustache. So come to the track in Vegas. You'll feel my mustache, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. That's great. I love how you're like gonna watch a dirt race. Chris Bell versus Kyle Larson. Ty Gibbs will be there filling the gas up. It's just like whoa. No, but that is seeing Bell versus Larson race dirt. I mean, that's a bucket lister, dude. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And that's the high limit. So like Brad Sweet should be in that. Maybe Casey Kane. I would imagine like those guys. That's gonna be amazing. I'm jealous.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'll send pics. I'll post and everything. So guys, tune in for that. Yeah, I've never been to a dirt race either. So I know what to expect. Like I've seen the clips, but I'm really excited to. That'll be Thursday, so tomorrow night and Saturday night as well. Really looking forward to that. The whole Bell like Larson. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, and then just see them do that in the Cup race as well. Ooh.
Yeah, it's gonna be a sick weekend. Phil, where can everyone find you?
The podcast is Full Tank with Phil. Do Cup Series action, and this week go to my YouTube channel, Full Tank with Phil, for some trucks action. Try to put out some quick hitters for the trucks every time they're out, and give me a follow at Full Tank Phil Instagram and X, and let me know what you got going on this weekend. But another good one. Jealous of you guys, Brian, Tino, everybody out there, and I hope you guys have fun. And Ryan, thanks again. It's another really fun time.
My pleasure, man. We got trucks Friday night, Xfinity Saturday, Cup Sunday, full weekend in Vegas. You can find all our content on wintherace.info. We sim each series 20,000 times, give you some fair market value, do DFS projections, all that good stuff. Discord's a lot of fun. So many cool people in there. Thank you to our partners, Nuke the House, Keg and Coop, just killing it on the prop show. They found, we were talking about, I think Brian Twining, who's actually in here right now, commenting, and Angle of Pursuit, look on the bottom of the partners right there, listening to their podcast. But he posted something, lines opening last year versus lines opening this year, and just how dwindled away the odds are. It's getting harder and harder and harder. Well, the guys at Nuke the House again, it's hard to recommend parlaying to people, but they do it in a way that's so smart that and the numbers speak for themselves. Just look how successful they are. Everything's documented over the last X amount of years, forever. But they're, starting to parlay NASCAR lines a little bit with other sports, and it's working. But it's kind of like what we have to do with some of these terrible lines that are out there now. It's so hard to bet a top 10 now or anything like that. So I don't know, check out their live shows. If you're betting live, that'd be where I'd be watching. Grid Rival, you can play there, all types of fantasy games, create your own league, anything. So much fun on there. If you use code Win the Race, you get up to $100 back on your first deposit. Out of the Groove, I was on there talking to Eric Estep today. Always a fun conversation with him. Very relaxed, just talk about some key stats, 5-6 drivers. Always try to keep it fresh every week, and all his stuff's on the Daily Downforce. So check it out. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, live to talk about that week's race. Appreciate it. Have a good night and good luck this weekend.